Let's talk about animations and transitions today. This is not going to be like a comprehensive guide of every single animation and how to use them. This is just going to be like a basic overview, and I'll talk about the ones that are special, the ones that I use with my clients, the ones that I use in my own presentations that people don't necessarily know about or think about. So I want to show you some cool stuff and walk you through the basics, and that's going to be this video. A lot of people do ask me if they should be using animations or transitions in their presentation, and the answer is generally yes. Like, there's nothing wrong with animations. Animations are really good for helping you keep the audience's attention and keep things moving. So I love animations, even some transitions. So there's nothing wrong with using them. We just want to be careful about how we use them. So that's really the only thing. But yeah, animations, transitions are fine. So it's good to know about these basics. Let's get started. So first, we're going to talk about the terms just to make sure everybody is on the same page, because when I'm working with clients, I have noticed that people aren't really 100% clear on the difference between an animation and a transition. So just real quick, an animation, which has its own special tab in PowerPoint, is basically something that helps you move things on a single slide. So it's going to impact how something appears on your slide. That's this green section here. That's what green means, appear. It will help you move something on your slide, once it's already there. That's these yellow color icons here. Or it involves how things will leave the slide. So this is an exit animation, and those are the red ones. So that's what the colors mean. And that's what an animation is. It all happens on the slide itself. Transitions, on the other hand, are about what happens while you're moving from one slide to the next slide. So it's like a transition between two slides. It's the between thing that happens. So yeah, that's basically the difference. We'll talk about transitions second, so let's get into animations. You can animate anything on your slide. So any object, it can be a picture, it can be a shape, it can be an icon, and it can of course be text. So we'll start by adding some animations to our text. So I just opened a brand new kind of template, a brand new PowerPoint file. It doesn't have my custom template or anything like that, because I just wanted it to be as close to maybe what you're working with as possible. So, okay, so we have our lovely title. Here is a key point, next key point, and then I'm just gonna copy and paste that just so we have our text. And we'll do that. Okay. And just in case it needs to be said, this video is not going to be showing you good design at all. We're just focused on the tech and clicking through menus and how to use that. So don't look at this for design, please. Thank you. All right. So if we want to add an animation to this text so that the text is only going to show up after we click, here's a few ways that we can do that. So one way is we can click this entire placeholder text box and then go up to animations and then click appear. So that's it. Super fast and easy to do, does not take a lot of time. And PowerPoint does have some things right here to let us know that it worked correctly. So notice that it actually says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's letting you know the order that it's going to go in and that each one needs a separate click. If you did that and you only saw the number 1, that would mean that if you clicked once, all of this would show up at once. And sometimes that can happen depending on what you're creating an animation for and how it's set up. Sometimes it will do that. But right now we can see that it worked. So let me just quickly show you what happens. So I went to the slide, I'm in presenter mode. We don't see anything because again, all of the text is set up behind an appear animation. But if I click, 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 oh, clicked too many times. But yeah, so basically that's the point. That's an appear animation. There you go. So yeah, but what if things go wrong? What if this only says 1? What if you want to make additional adjustments, all that stuff? Well, the thing that you really want to use and get familiar with is the animation pane. So I'm going to click that now to activate it. And I am on a PowerPoint for Mac, so it might look a little different for you. I'm trying to expand this. Come on. Oh, finally. That took way longer than it should have. Okay. So this might work a little differently on a Windows, but I think for the most part, there's a lot of overlap here. But yeah, so this is the animation pane, and you can see all of your animations in here, and you can get in here and like fine tune things. So I'm going to, there's a little drop down here, but if I expand it, I can see all of the individual animations. And if I click on this top one here, because it is all grouped like within this one content placeholder, you can come in here into effect options, timing, and fix something if it didn't work, or make those adjustments. So you can add a delay, you can change it so that some of them will appear with the previous animation or after the previous animation. I'm going to show you some examples of this in a little bit, but I do want to make sure, I just don't want to forget to tell you about this. If we go here into the text animations option, this is where you can fix it. If it's not counting each of these as a separate item that needs to be clicked, you fix that here under text animations. And it's under this option, group text. So it does know, like it did automatically choose first level. If this were coming up all as one thing, chances are it's going to be, this is what's going to be selected, like as one object, or maybe all paragraphs at once, but usually it's as one object. And then you would just need to change it to first level. So just wanted to make sure to get that troubleshooting thing out of the way. And yeah, let's kind of like move on to the next point now. The other thing I wanted to talk about was how you can change the animation type even after you've first set it up. So if we go up here, we can actually see, I'm going to do the little drop down arrow here. There are quite a few options for different ways we can have the text show up on our slide. Now, people tend to not like animations, or animations have a bad reputation, probably because people are just like choosing the wrong thing from this menu. So you do want to be careful, but I also don't want to like squash your creativity. So don't be afraid to come in here and explore and try things and to see if it actually helps you make the point that you're trying to make on your slide. So let's say you didn't want to use the basic appear animation and instead you wanted to use something like fade. How do you change that? You might be tempted to come in here and just redo what you did. So you might be tempted to click on this content placeholder and then come up here and click fade. And it will give you a little preview that you can see how it looks. But again, when you're working with animations, I always recommend you have this animation panes there because we can instantly see that we have a problem here. It added a whole new section of this content placeholder instead of replacing the existing one. So here's what will happen when we go to present, right? We don't see anything yet, but click, 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 click. So it's the regular appear animation. And then I'm clicking again and it's like refreshing them almost. So you actually do have to do it a different way if you want to change what the animation type is going to be. So I'm going to click over here in the animation pane and I'll click the X to remove that animation. I'm not deleting the words from the slide. If I use this X, I'm just deleting the animation. So the way to change it would be to be using the animation pane itself. So I'm going to click on this top level organizer, this content placeholder where, again, this is the main level organization line. So I'm just going to click on that. And then I'll go back to over here on the left, I'll go to our appear animation section and I'm going to click on fade. That replaced the animation type. It went from appear to fade. So we'll just double check, confirm, always confirm. When you work with animations and you do stuff, go into presenter view and check it. Click, 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 click. Okay. So it was more of a fade rather than an appear. And just as a little side note, you might be wondering why I'm going into presenter view to check everything when I could just be clicking on preview over here all the way on the left. Technically, it does show you what all of the animations look like, but that option doesn't make you actually click through your animations. So you're not actually testing probably one of the more important elements, which is like when you click what happens, or even just like making sure you have to click for the next thing to happen. So that's why, like, yeah, sometimes I might use the preview, but I use that more for transitions. When it comes to animations, I'm always hopping into that presenter view and checking. So now let's talk about some of these other options that are in here. And to do that, we're actually going to work with some shapes now. Some shapes and pictures maybe. So I'm just going to go in here to insert. I'm just going to insert a shape, or it could be anything. So I'll insert an icon just so we have something else, just so you can see. And let's see, what do I like today? How about, I feel like I always use that acorn. So let's do the little cauldron because that is just super cute. All right, so we have a shape, we have icon. I'm going to add like a keyword in a text box. Okay, and let's just bold it so it's a little easier to see. And then I'm going to add an arrow. And I know you're like, what are you doing? But you'll see, we're going to do something kind of cool. Yeah, or, it's cool to me. I don't know. I geek out over this stuff. And let's do maybe like potion or something. Oh, that looks cute. Okay. So, all right. So let's say we have a slide like this where we've got like some words, maybe an icon, and then like it's a process. That's what we're trying to represent here. And so like something happens and then it turns into some other thing. So we could just have it all on the slide at once like this. We could just set it up as an appear animation where we have to click each part like we just covered, or we can start playing around with some of those timing options and make it a little more dynamic, make it a little more interesting than just having it all be there or just using like a click appear animation for everything. So let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to just leave this text here so we don't start with a fully blank slide. We'll have a little something when we get to the slide, but I will add something to everything else. So let's say I want this like background square to fade in, and then maybe I also want the icon to fade in. As for the arrow, we could do a fade like we just did. That's fine. Like there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. We could also do, let's go back up here to appear. Again, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but there is one other option that we can use, and that's what I'm going to go with today. So I'll expand that menu again, and this one is called wipe. Now, let's just take a look at what we've done so far. We haven't done anything with the potion, so of course it's still going to be there, but I'm going to click. We've faded in this background square. I'm going to click. We've faded in the cauldron, and then watch what happens to the arrow when I click. Okay, so do you see how like the left end and the right end came together to meet in the middle? That's kind of weird, right? So PowerPoint chose, that's just like the default option. And where do we see that? Like, where do we see how PowerPoint is choosing this and deciding like how it's happening? It's kind of up here towards the right. It's after these three groups, like the appear, move, and exit animations. It's right up here under effect options. It is also in the animation pane. So I'm over there now, and I will click on effect options. So we can see the name of it from bottom, and we can see the icon, which is like an arrow pointing up. So either way, this is where you can edit it. I like to edit it using the icons because if you're using it up here at the top menu, it will actually show you the direction of things rather than just using the words. So I usually use this part up here. So what I actually want to do is like basically choose the same shape as the same direction as the arrow. So I'm going to go from left. Okay. And now I kind of want like the potion to maybe like pop because it's the final thing. It's the exciting thing. It's the thing we've been waiting for. So for this one, I accidentally clicked on wipe. So I'm going to pop that menu open and I'm going to choose just a simple appear. Okay. Now, first you might be like, wait, but you were like clicked on the thing and then just changed it in the menu. You didn't have to go to the animation pane. And that is true. So real quick, just because I don't want to forget, because I kind of do these just like live and improv in a way. So stuff like this kind of happens. The reason why it didn't really work here, I think, is because I actually clicked on like an entire placeholder. I wasn't clicked on an individual line of text. I think that's the difference. So you might be like, wait, you were just in here, you chose the wrong thing, and then you were able to just like choose a different one from this menu. You didn't have to go through the animation pane. And I think that's because it happened like as I was setting it up the first time. Because if I click out now, and now I click on it again, and I choose, I'm just gonna choose a random one, expand, it did add it in here. So I think like if you kind of catch it in real time before you click out of it, you can change it. And I think that's a way to kind of like, maybe it's just like a way to let you preview different ones at once. I'm not really sure. But yeah, okay, let's take a look at what we did. So again, we've got like a keyword here. It introduces maybe this like custom visual that we're building, and then click, we've got the box, and then click, we've got the cauldron, and then click, we have an arrow, and then click, we've got our potion. Okay. So that's fine, but that was a lot of clicks, right? You might not want to be sitting there clicking nonstop. That's where some of these other features are actually going to come in handy. These timing and trigger, just the timing options. Okay, let me just close these out. So in the timing option, you can, again, you have the option to make everything require a click to happen, or you can use with previous or after previous. And you can do things like, you can even choose the timing, like how long the animation takes to complete itself. And you can even add a delay. So right now we have 4 clicks, but we can actually turn that into just 1 click. So we don't have to sit there and like remember to do all of this clicking. And the easiest way that we can do that is by leaving this first one like as is. I'm not going to touch it, but I'm going to click on the second one, hold down Shift on my keyboard to select all of them. And I'm just going to go over here to timing, to start, and do after previous. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to change anything about it, and I'm going to check to see how it looks. So now I'm going to click once, and I'm not going to click again. So click. All right. Look, that all happened automatically. So I'll go ahead and exit out of that. So yeah, that is how you can reduce the number of clicks you have while still having something that's like a little more than just everything being on the slide or everything just appearing all at once. This is how you can kind of like walk people through it, or just like help guide their eye through this model or custom figure or whatever it is that you're building. And if you're trying to do something really advanced, you might find yourself wanting to come in here and really changing the duration, like how long something takes, or adding in some of those delays. Let me give you an example. So I'm going to add a new slide, and we're just going to add like a bunch of icons. All right. So we'll just do like faces just so that they're all kind of. All right, so I'm just gonna add a whole bunch of these. Click, 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 cool faces. And I do have a whole video about icons in PowerPoint if you want to dive into that as well. I love that PowerPoint has these. It makes it so much easier to make your slides more visual and just like add those things. It's all built into PowerPoint. Just go to insert icons and explore around. Okay. So again, it's kind of messy. And again, this is not like, I'm not like designing this the way I really would. I just want to show you what I might do with an animation. So sometimes I will have something where I am kind of trying to like give the impression that like there's like a lot of something, or there's just like an overwhelming amount of something. Like lots of examples of this, like so much evidence. There's like an overwhelming evidence of this. Like maybe I would be using screenshots of journal articles. I don't know. Or it's like, oh, this is like a really stressful thing. And then maybe all of the faces would actually be like stressful faces, or whatever it is. Like if I kind of want to just like make this point of like, there's a lot of things, but I might actually want to like add some words to these. Like, oh, people are really hungry. People are really tired. People are really overworked. Like I kind of actually want to go through that. We could, again, just like show everything all at once on the slide, or we can set up some type of animation just to kind of like walk people through that a little more. And a really fast way that you can do that is just select all of the objects on the slide, go to the animation pane, and choose your animation. So I'll do appear. And because I selected them all at once, PowerPoint is going to assume I meant to group them all as one animation. We can check presenter view if we want, but we really don't have to because we have enough clues right here. Like literally everything has the number 1. So that means if the first click, when you get to the slide, all of these are going to show up at once. We can also look to the animation pane where we can see all of the graphics, but we only see one cursor. And that's the symbol for click. So 1 click for all of these things. And again, we also see the number 1 here. So, make sure that you get familiar with these like codes and symbols and icons and all of that, because then you can kind of know right away without even having to test it that this is all going to show up at once. Which, there's really no difference than having all of this show up at once under a click versus just having it all on the slide to begin with. At least not like a huge difference. So again, what if we want to like pace this out a little bit more as we narrate the slide? Well, we can do what we just did before. So we can select all of these. I didn't select the top one. I've selected everything else, and I am changing this to with previous. I'm changing that to after previous. So now let's go in and take a look. So I will click and then, wait, what happened? Why did they show up all at once? We did everything right. We said after previous. Well, what's going on is it's the type of animation that we're using. It's the appear animation, which is instant. Like it takes no time to actually go through the animation. Whereas it worked before because those animations, let's go back and check. I'll show you, right? Let's click. It fades in. It takes time. Wiping this animation from end to end, that takes time. So that's why we were able to just set after previous, and that's why it worked. That's not going to work with the appear animation. But let's say you're like, but I don't want fade. Like that's too dramatic. That's like, it takes too long and it's too much animation. Like I don't want that. No problem. What you do is you go back and select everything. And this is when delay becomes your friend. You can come in here and add a delay. Let's do half a second. And now let's take a look. So I'm going to click once. There we go. So now everything is like popping up on the slide. You can narrate. It takes a little bit of time to get through. Yeah, you might have to practice your script and time it just a little bit, but this can actually be used to create like a really fun and engaging slide, or just like a powerful slide that makes a powerful point about like how much there is of this thing. So those are like the basic things that I use when I am setting up animations. I do use the timing options quite a bit. I'm usually coming in here and doing with previous, after previous to reduce the number of clicks that I have to do, but also just so it looks smooth and, it's not like rough or anything like that. And I do use the delay when I need to, especially for something like this. So highly recommend you get in here and get comfortable with this. The other thing I do use a lot is the effect options. So I'll go back to where that was. When you click on an animation, let's see. So I clicked on this that has the wipe animation, but notice that it didn't actually pop up the effect options. That's because we have to like click into it in the animation pane. So I've clicked onto that. It's arc 7. Now we can see this effect options again. And I am very often coming in here and changing the default option that PowerPoint chose when I'm using an animation type that has this. Like this one here is set up to appear. There's no effect options because again, it just like shows up. That's the effect. There is nothing else added to it. So yeah, that's like mostly what I use in terms of changing the settings for my animation. So now let me show you a cool animation that's actually really helpful and something that I think a lot of people don't really know about. It's the draw animation. So I have a draw tab here on my PowerPoint. I think I had to go into settings and like activate it. So if you don't have this, if you aren't seeing this, I think you have to go into preferences or whatever. And I think this does depend on, I think the instructions are different for Mac versus Windows. But if you Google like how to activate the draw tab in PowerPoint, and then add like whatever version and operating system you're using, there should be some help page from Microsoft that walks you through how to activate it. But I'd highly recommend you do this if you haven't, because I get a lot of questions about this from people. People will watch my videos and they'll ask me, hey, how are you doing that thing where you're like circling stuff or like drawing stuff? And the answer is this, it's the draw tab. So I'm actually going to duplicate the slide and remove the animations first, because it is also, I just want to sort of like remind you how to do that. We can select all of them and then, oh, no, actually, see, it's such a habit of mine that even I do it sometimes. I went to select all of them, but that's not the way to do it. We go to the animation pane and select them all and hit the X. Okay, so we've removed the animations because I want to only do the drawing animation here. So like, let's just say we want to like, I don't know, we're going to circle some, we're going to point from some to another, just so I can show you this. So here's the draw tab, and it looks a little different because you actually can customize it. Like you see this button here, this is add. I can add ones. Let me show you. Because you can change how thick the line is, and there's some basic normal colors, but then there's also like really pretty colors like gold and like rainbow and stars, and like a gold one. Like a rose gold. Oh, it's just so fun. So yeah, I really like the gold one, but you can do that. You can sort of like set presets. There's a highlighter. Let me show you instead of just talking about it. But yeah, so there's a highlighter. And again, it's like this medium thickness. Here's the rainbow, which is sort of on the larger side. So rainbow, oh, how nice. So yeah. And then I also use this one, which is like red, and it's sort of like a pen. So I can like cross things out. And then I can say check, yes, that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, it's like, it's hard to get like a really nice look, a really nice line when you're just using a mouse. Like, okay, that's like probably one of the best circles I've ever drawn. Usually it doesn't look that good. So, but that's all right, because even if you're just circling or pointing to things, that's still pretty cool. So like, let's say we've already gone through this a little bit and we want to highlight one or emphasize one. Well, I'm just going to circle this one. And maybe I want to say like, oh, this one contributes to this other one over here. So then I'm going to draw an arrow. Yeah, see, it's, it's not like a smooth line or anything. And then, I don't know, I'll just kind of like, I'll run with it. I'll run with the fact that it's not smooth lines and just make it squiggly. Okay, so I've just hit escape on my keyboard, so I'm not like in the pen anymore, and I can actually start clicking on things. Okay, so I'm going to click this now, just the circle, because it's kind of the first one, and I might want like a little moment to explain what I'm talking about. Once I've clicked on this, I'm going to go to the animations tab, and a new animation is going to appear magically, and it's called replay. This is ink replay. And yep, you saw the little preview there. So I'll just show it to you again here. Click. There we go. So you can literally circle in what feels like real time to your audience. And then let's say I wanted to do the arrow and then the rest of this, all kind of in the same way that we've done before. Now I've clicked on the arrow and look what happened. PowerPoint did actually group them together because it will do that. It will kind of try to guess which parts of what you've drawn are supposed to be the same thing, the same movement. Sometimes it gets it right, sometimes it doesn't. So let's take a look and see if it did a good job. So I'll just activate, the ink replay animation, and it looks like it actually did it correctly. And now I'm going to come in here. I have the two animations, and I'm going to do just what we did before. I'm going to set one to, I'm going to set the second one to just move after previous. All right, let's take a look now. Click. All right, we've got our circle and then the arrow. I'm not clicking, it just happened automatically. And this example actually gives us a chance to adjust something that we didn't get to with the other ones, which is the duration. For ink replay, the default duration is always going to be 2 seconds. And I usually find that a little too slow. It feels a little too sluggish. So I usually change that to either 1 second or half a second. And by the way, I have been using this menu here, but it is just like the effect options, it's also up here. So we could adjust the duration right here or down here to the right inside the animation pane. Either way, it's the same thing. So let's start with 1 second. And I'm actually going to do that for both of them. Okay. And now I'm going to come in here and check and just click once, and yeah, that's a little better. Now you can see that when we have them take the same amount of time, the speed is actually going to be different if it's more drawings. So what I mean by that is this was just a quick circle. So it actually was kind of slow, a better pace than before, but still kind of slow. And then this part here was whoosh, really fast because it's just more has been drawn here. So let me just show you again in case you missed it. So I'm going to click once, so it's kind of slow, and then whoosh, really fast. So, I typically don't care about that. I don't need them to feel an exactly equal pace. But if there is a big difference and it feels noticeable and you don't like it, well, that's why it can be helpful to actually have these in different groups, because then you can come in here and, okay, actually we're going to do this one. The first one's going to be half a second. And then this one will be a full second. Let's go in here and check and click. Okay, now they actually feel the same pace. So sometimes that may actually matter. Sometimes it doesn't. Just kind of see how you feel as you're practicing. And like I mentioned earlier, sometimes PowerPoint doesn't actually choose things correctly. Sometimes I've had it where I'll draw an arrow and it'll draw the arrow head out of order or things like that. It does seem like it's gotten better since I first released it. So I haven't really had that issue happen all that much, but there's usually a way that you can go in and adjust it or manually fix it. What I've had to do sometimes is I just ungroup it and then, manually choose my own groups. So, here, this is one group, and then here, this is another. So, maybe I have to actually select them both and then group those and separate it from this one. So, it's highly dependent on your speed when you're drawing, the space between the objects, how fast you are, how often you let off the pen. So it's kind of impossible to really go through all the different ways to fix it, but that's kind of the main way, ungroup, regroup them together, that type of thing. And if you click on, again, I'm in animation pane, and if you click on one where you've added the animation, there is this effect option here. It's grayed out. I just looked at it a second ago, so I'm not exactly sure why it is. Do I need more than one on here? What's going on? Why? Maybe I can't access it anymore because I changed PowerPoint's default Let me undo this and see if it comes back. Will it come back now? Yeah. Okay. So that's what happened. So if PowerPoint is grouping different objects and like made that choice, it does look like once you add the ink replay animation and you're clicked into it in the animation pane, this effect options is going to pop up. And it does look like you may be able to do like all at once or by ink object, which by ink object is probably going to be better because this, you can even just see in the preview, like that doesn't really make sense. We want it to look like we kind of drew it in that way. So that might be something that helps. Definitely something to play around with. But yeah, I mean, even things like, even just like a simple like no, which that is super slow. 2 seconds is way too long. So I will click on that and have to click on it in the animation pane to change that to like half a second. And then we'll do a preview. It's the whole slide. So like little X, little check marks, circling things, pointing at other things. These are all things that can really add a nice touch to your presentations. And it's all just in the ink replay or the draw feature. That's how you draw it. And then once you draw something like this in PowerPoint and you click on it, you will have the option to add the ink replay animation. This does not work with shapes. So you can't try to do the same thing with like drawing arrows and stuff like that. Let's see, I'll just show you. So we're in the animation pane. There is no replay. So it has to be something that you added using this draw tab specifically. So I wanted to make sure I showed you something really cool. We're going to talk about transitions in just a little bit, and I have something just as cool to show you for transitions as well that I've used a lot in my YouTube videos, and people are always like, how are you doing that? So I will show you that, but I also do acknowledge I didn't cover most of the animation stuff. So I do want to do just a couple things just to make this a little more comprehensive so you feel a little more comfortable coming in here and experimenting on your own and trying new things. What I didn't cover at all were the move animations or the exit animations. So I'm going to do that very quickly because, it's kind of like once you really get the hang of, I'll just go back to here. Once you get the hang of the appear animation and using the animation pane and using the different settings, you pretty much know how to do them all. So, it doesn't really require like a whole separate tutorial, I don't think. So we've focused on appear animations, which is basically any animation that is used to add something to your slide. So let's just go to the reverse. Let's go to the exit animations, which are red. Now, it may have seemed annoying that if we wanted to change the animation, we couldn't just click on the object and then like choose a different appear. But that actually works in your favor if you want to add a move animation or an exit animation. Now, again, it is possible that this works differently on Windows, so I'm sorry if you're a Windows user and this is not working the same, but hopefully this is equivalent. Because let's say I wanted to maybe this is about a vanishing potion. Oh, how convenient. And I wanted to show you the potion, but then show it vanishing, which is a totally real example. That people watching this channel would present, but I just need to show you the animations, okay? So I've clicked on the object and I'm just gonna click on the exit animation and it shows us a little preview, but again, we can confirm in the animation pane and we also see the number 2. And see how it does this? It actually shows you number 1 and number 2. So that lets you know that there's actually 2 different animations applied to this one object. I don't think it's color coded in a way to let you know whether it's an appear animation or an exit animation. They're all the same color. So you have to use the animation pane to see it, but it's pretty obvious once you look at it, right? Green and red. If you can see green and red, but they're literally different too. So it's probably really hard to see on my screen, but for the green one, the star is more on the right, and then for the exit animations, the star is like on the left. So, they did try to make the icons look different, and they're kind of in a different position. So yeah. So anyway, so if we'll go to our slide, I'm going to click once. This whole thing is happening. Cool. So now I have a moment. I can say whatever I want. And then I click again and it is gone. It has faded away. So that's pretty much exit animations. Nothing else is really different. Like if you click on it, you have options for, is it going to happen on click or with previous or after previous, duration, delay? You have all of those same options. In some cases, there is going to be like an effect option up here where you can choose the direction of things. So like, let's say we actually wanted this to fly off the slide. So I'll click on it in the animation pane. I'm going to choose the drop down menu, and where is that? Fly out. Okay, so we can actually have it fly out of the slide. Okay, because that one has kind of like a direction that it's going, we do have the effect options here. And if we click on it, we can see that we kind of have a lot. So we'll do to top right. And you will actually see me use these in my presentations because I really do just want to make learning PowerPoint and presentation skills fun. And it's just kind of like part of my personality. Would you do something like this for a job talk, for example? Okay, no. We probably wouldn't want you having things flying out of your slides. But, for like teaching and stuff, like, I don't know. Let me just show it to you. Oops, I clicked too much. Let me go back. All right, click once, let it do its thing, cool, and then click one more time, and there it goes, off the slide. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much, it's all the same. And then we also, we have these options for like, I can't remember the name of these like officially in PowerPoint. Maybe it's move, or maybe it's like emphasis animations. I'm not really sure, but basically this whole group, it's about, okay, once an object is already on the slide, these will do a special thing to that object or to that text. So let me show you with this square actually. Like, let's say we wanted to, again, just kind of like random, going with this like random example. Oh, we have a cauldron and we want to symbolize that like the thing inside it, like when we've reached boiling. Okay, I don't know. So I could come in here and I can actually, let's see if this works. It does work. So maybe I want this to sort of like go from like blue, because blue is cold, to something like red because red is hot, or like orange or something like that. And I want that to kind of like happen as I'm narrating this. Well, I can choose the fill color. So I'll click on it. It will give me the little preview, and it's conveniently turning into orange, which kind of works for this example. And there you go. The only issue is the timing right now, because it's like we've already added in the other animations. It's down here at the bottom. So it'd be like the last thing that happens. It would happen after the potion flies out of the slide. So that wouldn't make sense. So this is kind of a good chance to show you how to build different animations and rearrange things on the animation pane. So if we want to kind of symbolize that it has to like boil first, boil, toil and trouble. Is that the... Hopefully that's right. I don't know. But like we need that to happen before the arrow swooshes and then the potion appears and flies off the slide. So we have to kind of like move it to where it needs to go. So that is going to be before arc 7. So I've just like moved it with my mouse, because you can do that. You can rearrange things in the animation pane. And it is set up to a click right now, which, I may or may not want, but in this case, I don't think I will. So I'm just going to change it to after previous, just like always. So now let's go in here and take a look. So I will click once, back off, watch it do its thing, and then, oh, look, it's turning orange. We have our potion. And then click bye-bye potion. All right. So that's these. Like, you can do things like that. There's like spinning effects, pulsing effects, teetering effects, things like that. So there's some pretty good stuff in here for you to explore and test out and see if you like it. And before you dismiss this as totally childish, totally unprofessional, again, I'm just, I'm coming up with random examples on the fly that are just super quick to explain and to give you Really, what I'm trying to do here is spark your interest, spark your curiosity, so you come in here and experiment and find ways to make this work for your content. This type of thing can really, let me pull this up here. These types of features and these types of animations are what can take your sort of like normal everyday presentation and turn it into something truly memorable. So I have another video on my channel about the 6 gears of creating engaging presentations. And I have had so many people, professionals, academics, researchers, very smart people, right? Not just like children, like I teach adults. They love this. And they, how did you do this? Like, are you using Adobe? You know, like, how is this happening? And it's like, no, this is just a PowerPoint animation. Look what's happening to that gear. And you'll see me kind of explain what this is, but I'm using basically like a system metaphor, a gear metaphor. I love using gears for this purpose because so many things truly are a system. And what I'm symbolizing here is like, if you're only focusing on storyboarding and scripting, right, and you're not focusing on the other gears, the whole system isn't working. The whole system breaks down. And an animation is showing that, right? It's so much more powerful than just saying those words. And what's going on here? Well, all it is, well, I can actually just show you in that PowerPoint, can't I? Okay, let me get to the right menu. Let me show you what that is. I will open up the animation pane. Look, it's the yellow one, right? So it is one of these, and it's the teeter. It's teetering, okay? And I'll kind of, if you haven't watched that video yet, I encourage you to watch it, especially now that you know that all I'm doing is using animations. And for this, I do actually use the yellow ones. See if you can figure it out. See if you can reverse engineer it. Again, I'm hoping to spark that type of curiosity. And I really do want to emphasize that this can absolutely be something that you use in highly professional presentations you get paid for, keynotes, and that type of thing. This is one way to really make your presentations go next level. And just in case you didn't know, I do offer one-on-one consultation calls. So if you are like, okay, I do actually want to do something cool with animations, but I don't know how to do it on my own, I need some help, that is totally something we can do on a one-on-one call. I love building cool custom animations. So keep that in mind. All right. But with that said, let's talk about transitions now, because we haven't spent like any time on that yet. So again, just as a reminder, a transition is something that you can apply that will do something as you move from one slide to the next. So now that we need to think about between slides, I'm going to expand this a little bit. And this actually gives me a chance to talk about something I totally forgot. I forgot to mention that when you add an animation to a slide, you get this little star symbol here, by the way. And this lets you know whether or not an animation or a transition has been applied. And specifically, it's been applied like manually, like you've done it while editing your slides. That little comment will be relevant towards the end of the video because we are going to talk about something even after transition. So, okay. All right. So I'm just going to show you one. I'm just going to show you kind of a random one. So I just chose split. Okay. And so I was clicked onto slide 3 and I chose split. One thing that's not intuitive and not clear is like where the transition happens. And unfortunately, PowerPoint doesn't really help us know where that transition is going to take place. Like it would have been awesome if there was like a little symbol to sort of indicate that, because this symbol is kind of like universal. Like it means either an animation or a transition or both has been applied. So the symbol doesn't really help us get specific. So you just kind of have to remember this. And basically what it is how do I explain this? Basically when you click on a slide and add a transition to it, it's the transition to that slide. So if I add a transition to slide 3, it's going to happen as we move from slide 2 to slide 3. Okay, so you just have to memorize that. So let's take a look at what will happen. All right, we'll go, okay, I'm going to click, let it do its thing. I'm going to actually speed it up and kind of click. Okay, so we've like finished the slide. The slide is done. My next click is going to move us from this slide to the next slide. So click. and it kind of like wipes things, and it's a blank slide because we have an animation. So I click. So maybe not the best example actually. So let me, I think I have like a random photo on my desktop. So let me just kind of show you with 2 slides that don't have an animation, because that does kind of change things. So I'll just do that again. And actually, if we click it, we should see a preview. So yeah, that's a transition for you. So, right, we have like our slide, click, and it just like, so you see how it's like you still see some of the old slide while the new slide is coming in. Yeah, that's a transition. And unlike animations, I will give you this warning that like, I feel like with an animation, like go ahead, go explore, like thumbs up, it's fine. And you can do some like really cool stuff like the gears that I showed you and having them like teeter and then all move and form a system. Like you can totally do that. Transitions are much harder to do in a way that actually feels like professional. And that's why in the spring cleaning video that I was just covering, I actually recommended that your first step is to select all slides in your presentation and just choose none. Like be in the transitions tab and deactivate, basically remove all transitions, because unless you've really like taken a full length training, transitions are one of those things that can actually make your presentation feel very goofy and unprofessional. So I'm actually only going to cover one transition because this one is awesome and cool and like anybody can use it. Everybody should use it. It's the best thing ever. It's the morph transition. You may be wondering why I didn't, let me click into animations. You may be wondering why I didn't even talk about path animation. Let me show you path animation real quick. So path animation lets you move objects to a different spot on your slide. Yeah, so actually now, sorry, it's a little late, but these are emphasis animations. They're not move animations. This is where you move things. Sorry about that. But you'll see why in a second, why I kind of like forgot that. So this is where, yeah, like you can make your objects, your text, whatever, move. So I'll just click on one just to show you. You click on it and then your cursor turns into a plus sign. And then you just like click and drag and then let go. And there you go. There's the preview. So it moves objects from one space to the slide to another. Yeah, I don't mess with this. Like I don't do that. Like that's so annoying. It's so cumbersome. I mean, I guess if I'm gonna undo. I guess like if I needed it to do this, maybe I would, but like let me make it bigger. Sorry. Now I want to see it. Just like okay. Yeah. So like, I guess like maybe if I wanted it to do that, okay, maybe I would. But I just like, and I used to use this to make things move, but I haven't in a while because of morph. Morph is magical. Like, thank you, PowerPoint, for doing this. I think Keynote technically had it first. I think it was called Magic Move. And it kept me on Keynote instead of PowerPoint. But once PowerPoint added this, I could not resist because that's what morph does. And it looks so good and so smooth. And it is so easy to work with. So I've got a slide here and I've duplicated the slide. This is important. I've duplicated the slide and all I did was move the square. Okay. Just confirming with you, showing you animations, none. Animations, none. Okay. So this is slide 4 and 5 that we're working with. I am on slide 5. I'm going to go up to transitions and I'm going to activate the morph transition and watch the preview. So I'm going to click, look at that. It moves objects. That's what morph does. So here's slide 4, I think, and I will click and we'll see slide 5. So click. There we go. So that is the beauty of morph. You just move. That's like how you can be moving objects from one slide to another. This is really good when you want to like keep people's attention or mind on something that you cover on one slide, move it in some way, and connect it to the next slide. I'm actually going to show you an example from another YouTube video real quick, but first I want to cover like a troubleshooting thing, because the one thing that might not work is, oh, you know what else? Actually, let me just like show you. I'm even going to change here. Let's just like kind of go all out actually, because it's not just the movement, right? That's not like, you might be like, what's the big deal? Like, who cares? Let me just like have you watch this. It's not just the movement. Click, like, right? Like, that's so awesome. I wasn't kidding when I said I geek out over this. Like, it morphs it, like the location, the color, the shape, the size. It like literally helps you like change something into something else in like an animation, like an actual animation, in the sense of like what we think of as animation, right? Like a movie. So amazing. But sometimes you might actually find that it's not working. It's not like connecting the objects, and it actually just, it'll use like a fade transition. It'll kind of like go away and then come back as the new thing. Usually you can fix that by going into shape format, selection pane. And I'm going to actually have like another video that covers this in a little more detail, but selection pane is definitely something you should know about. And when you go to selection pane, basically you can see every object on the slide listed here. And what you do is you find that object. So in this case, it's rectangle one, rectangle one. Even if they're named the exact same thing, sometimes it does not work, but you just click into here so you can edit the word of it. I've lost my words, but you could double click in here, go to the beginning of the word, and then do 3 exclamation points. And you have to do that on both slides, or all slides that you're using the morph transition. So you come in here and they do have to have the same name. So they have to have the same name, the 3 exclamation points, and that can very often override this and force PowerPoint to consider them the same object and make them morph into each other. It doesn't always work, but like 9 times out of 10, it will work. So there's like the troubleshooting thing. Now, like, I think for this, a lot of people are like, okay, that like sounds cool, but like they have struggled to kind of like envision how this comes together. So let me just like show you something that I've actually put in another YouTube video. So I use morph a lot, to be honest, but this is just like the most recent example at the time of making this video. It's this video that I have about transferable skills, basically. And I talk about the idea of like, you want like balloons for job mobility. Okay. So this whole sequence in that video, I'll click and show you. I forgot the clicks. There we go. See, the balloons come down, the whale moves up, the waves move, all of that. That's just morph. That's all I did. So let me just like actually show you. I'll, just so you can see the slides. Right? So it's just like, you just need multiple slides. Okay. And I just moved the objects. So I guess one thing that isn't clear just from looking at this, so let me zoom out, is I do have the objects kind of like oops, sorry, I hit my mic. But I have all of the objects like off the slide and then move them onto the slide when it's time. So that is the one thing, like they do kind of have to like be there already for morph to like move them. Because again, that's what you're doing. You're moving them. I'm not using the appear animation for these. So they have to already be somewhere in, it's not like on the slide, it is off the slide, but you see it has to be like somewhere on this like canvas, I guess. And yeah, so it's just morph. That's all it is. And again, this is how you can get like really sleek things that surprise people. People aren't expecting it, but in a good way. They're impressed and they really like it. So hopefully you give morph a try as the transition that you use. And then, it's not that the other transitions can't work. Like sometimes I will use like a push. I think that's the one. Like you can sometimes use these to do things like timelines. If you have a really long timeline to cover, this is actually how you can do that. You cover it across like multiple slides, but like the push animation kind of helps you see it as like moving in a continuous line, but you can probably use more for that too. So yeah, I think like, get familiar, get comfortable with morph before you really worry about the other ones. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover. The last thing that I wanted to talk about is animations that may have been built into a slide master. So this is a custom slide master that I've created and is included in my online masterclass. And I have gone into the slide master to create a bunch of layouts. There's like over 100 layouts in here to help people implement what they learn in the course. And there is this top section here for people who are just like really short on time, like really need to put together a presentation very quickly. I was able to actually go in here and build in the let me just hide those. And the animations are already inside, so we don't even have to go in there and add them. So let me just show you. Here is a headline, and then key point 1, key point 2, key point 3, key point 4, and then we can just go into presenter view, and they're already hidden behind an appear animation. I have to click, 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 click for them to show up. So there is a way to actually do that and have them automated. And PowerPoint, at least on the Mac side, will show you this animation symbol to let you know that there are animations on there. I mean, it could mean a transition, but it shows you that there is something. The only thing is if you go to the animation pane, there's no animation shown in here. That's just the one thing to keep in mind. And I think that's like one reason why some people don't like to build in the animations into the slide master, because when you're editing it, you actually can't like remove them if you wanted to remove them. So if you don't want animations, the way to do it is to, like, technically you could go into the slide master and remove them from the slide master, but then you'd actually remove it for all of the slides in the presentation. So what I've done in my layout that I provide is there's just like there's another layout in here that's exactly the same, but there's just no animations applied. And people in my course, they get like a full training on this, but I'm just going to show you real quick. So it's just, it's in a different spot basically in the drop-down menu, but it looks the same. Like you didn't see any change here because it is identical, but if we go to present it, everything is there, like nothing's behind an animation. So let's just I just wanted like one last little piece of thing to think about if you're using, like maybe you're watching this video as a member of my course. I just wanted to like remind you of this. It is in the training videos, but still, like this is one of those things that a reminder never hurts. So yeah, speaking of my presentation skills masterclass, if you've watched this video and you'd really like to learn like the strategy behind using animations and how to make your presentations more engaging, more professional, more sleek, more impressive, I teach that strategy in my presentation skills masterclass. Most of my tech videos are here on YouTube because I just want everybody to feel comfortable with tech, especially PowerPoint, because it is so powerful, but that does mean there's kind of a learning curve. So a lot of my tech videos are on YouTube so that my online course can be slide software neutral. Like it doesn't matter what you use. Like you can make engaging presentations using any software. So the course is just about that strategy, regardless of what slide app you are using. And like I mentioned, I do also offer like one-on-one consultation calls. I'll just like show you anything you want to know. We'll do like a makeover on your slides. We can create really cool animations or transitions, or just I can help you with just anything else that you need, from scripting to design to just like all of it. But I also can go beyond presentation slides. I do absolutely help with report design, data visualization, even like comics and stuff like that. So I'm just really interested in design for communication. So my offers do change from time to time. Check out the link in the description below for more information. But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope that this made you more excited and interested about using animations and transitions, especially morph. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.